Persephone had now found herself back at the helm of the Agamemnon. The Agamemnon became a lower frequency to the real-time history of the outer solar system and came about in blue-chip wavelengths of the real-time asteroid belt. She came to rest in the orbit of the asteroid Ceres. She had arrived the exact time when the Japanese emperor of the Earth would be courting a young American girl to be his wife and empress. 45 years had passed while time had not seemed to move at all. And Persephone had traveled years into the real-time future to see the fulfillment of prophecy. She let down her heroic pretenses. The asteroid Ceres had become human territory at the time of the Great Partition. The winner had been the Yamato state of Japan. They had been the only Asian nation to stay on the Earth. By the end of the War of the Assassins and the crowning of Hirohito as Emperor of the Earth, Japan had fully recovered from the limited nuclear exchange. Japan now ruled the von Steuben Imperium. Now the Japanese Emperor of the Earth had decided to bring his asteroid Ceres to the planet Earth. To accomplish this, he had to sell his soul to the devil that resided on the red planet of Mars. And these rulers of Mars then sent their hounds of hell upon the asteroid belt. Persephone traveled with the asteroid Ceres as the Antiquity space shuttle from the planet Earth used hydrogen bombs to blast the orbit of the asteroid Ceres and bring it to the Earth. But as she remembered what the monks of her homeworld had said about the asteroid Ceres, Persephone relaxed in the glow of prophecy. Persephone went on to describe what she had seen on Mars in the brief time she had orbited the planet.
Great changes had taken place in the deserts and glacial fields of Mars. The seeds of life had blown across the dormant fertile crescents of ancient creek beds and volcanic fissures. Mars is in the process of becoming a green planet. The terraforming process of making the planet more like the Earth had created a vast prosperity sphere. Some places allowed a person to stand in the open air of Mars with nothing more than an oxygen mask. Some places a person could stand without an oxygen mask to breathe in the new Martian air.
If we do not stop, correct, and change some of these wrongdoings now, we are all going to suffer.
But I doubted that the rulers of New Mars, the reform Gnostics, the leaders of the secret declension, were able to breathe in any air of life.
Either things that we made will overtake us or nature will take over.
The new rulers of Mars, the reformed Gnostics of Ares, had their origins in a splinter group from the Earth. They had created a society in the carbon dioxide polar fields and lived like perverted lords. In thrones built in triumph to mastery over the human DNA.
Follow them right here.
Each sapient priest had been made a she-male baron to govern worlds in the solar system.
A danger spirit ahead. If we do not stop, correct, and change some of these wrongs.
They flaunted their belief that they were the temporal representatives of the universe. They used nature as a weapon. The clans of Moses, the blending of the culture of the first Martians and the nations of the Great Partition, stood in the way of the reformed Gnostics being lords of Mars.
Severe drought, severe winter, lightning, destruction, great wind, destruction. These things will warn us.
In the canyons in the interior they defended, and in the northern dune fields they stood their ground. But the clans of Moses could not stop the reformed Gnostics.
Warn us that 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 we are not following the Great Spirit. Do not stop, correct?
What clans survived the destruction were coward into surrender and servitude. But that was not the only casualty of the reformed Gnostic takeover.
A danger spirit ahead. If we do not stop, correct, and change some of these wrongdoings now, we are all going to suffer.
The native life forms of Mars became extinct. Persephone had no time to react to the attack on her ship. Neither did the other spaceships escorting the asteroid Ceres. The reformed Gnostics had ordered an attack upon them. Their agents of destruction were the mastiff raiders from the planet Venus. They fired hyperkinetic slices at every ship within the convoy. They were instantly destroyed. Only crippled, the Agamemnon was made unable to reassemble at a particle level. This was the mortal wound. The Agamemnon would explode, and Persephone would have to escape. That day, above the planet called Mars, survivors of genocide watched the destruction of the Agamemnon. They watched an escape craft eject from an implosion ring that had once been a spaceship. This was the drop tug from the destroyed Agamemnon, heading towards the one planet that Persephone had never been to, Earth.
notice of the Serbian monks of my Pluto-Charan home calmed my decision. I trusted them and knew only of nothingness as I drifted toward the faint gravity well of the earth. I claimed that my own life was saved, even while my mortality was not, by the knowledge I remembered from the tutoring of the Serbian monks. I heard the Stygian chants of the pastures between the Kleeper and the Ord. I heard the pulsar songs of red and blue, the colors of heaven. They reminded me that innocence is lost in the presence of life's beauty, but reminded of death when heaven is fulfilled by reunion.
All planet Earth produces is the dead bodies of humanity. That's its only creation.
What chances will the Earth, lowercase and subjugated, take to follow its heart again?
Where Parasiphan's ghost mingled with the land of the living, Parasiphan died once more in Soviet, Ohio, USA.
The dead bodies of humanity. That's its only creation.
Parasiphan died for a second time in a dark room of Communitaria. After the tale the astronaut who fell to Earth was over, Parasiphan left the spirits of the living and returned to the land where ancestors slept in death. The monkey Messiah had been a door between worlds, and that door now was closed. He looked around the room. He made eye contact with Anacreon and understood the grief that was inside of his heart. He next made eye contact with Janus and understood the grief inside her heart. They both ate from the same god. Anacreon, the last sailor from the seas of the Pacific, had witnessed the death of his own life, and he had found it hard to believe in anything. But he was still alive, and in his old life's death, he had seen his beginning in the land of his ancestors.
Anacreon made sense of the tale in this way. The monkey Messiah embodied the spirit of the innocent servant and lived out the mischief with his own free will.
All planet Earth produces is the dead bodies of humanity. That's its only creation.
Anacreon had a story to grow in the soil of his past experiences, whether they be the ashes of his past disasters or not. He understood this to be the true gift of life, and so, when the monkey Messiah looked over at him and asked him what he would do now, Anacreon said he would live. Live. Next to the last sailor, the Pagani engineer known as Janus said a prayer underneath her breath. The vision she had had days ago about meeting the stranger from the Pacific had said his heart was the biggest gift that her own fate would ever meet. That was all the vision had said. For such was the importance of the last sailor that she was relieved to not know the full plans of heaven for the time being.